I will go straight to your book, if you allow me, and I would like to read some part of the book. I figured this part of the book is really, really. That's how I understood it, but it's like a turning point, really, in your life with this experience you had in Afghanistan. So, just to sum up the context, it's your second mission or your second day on a mission. I mean, it's really the beginning. You almost have no experience of Afghanistan at the time, and you were on a patrol. It was quite tense. There were Talibans a bit everywhere and everything. At one point, you were moving on with your patrol, and you are being very cautious because you know you have enemies around. And I'm going to the book, and I want to read this part if you agree. Should I shoot? No, wait until you see a weapon. The bobbing heads were moving swiftly. I placed my finger on the trigger and gently pressed. Come on, let me see your hands. The heads made their way the final few feet to the edge of the tree line. The crosshairs from my weapon scope waited for the fighters to emerge. Adrenaline coursed through my veins while I tried to slow my breathing. Aim center mass. My finger tightened on the trigger as two little forms came out from the tree line and sprinted towards me. What the hell? Are those girls? One was maybe 8 years old and the other no more than 6. My scope filled with their faces. Tears streamed down their cheeks as they ran toward me. Both were wearing pink backpacks, IEDs, suicide vests. I leveled the crosshairs on the oldest girl's face and began screaming and waving my left arm at them. If they got much closer, I would have no choice. Go away, get out of here, my voice screeched with desperation as they ran at me. Stop! 10 more feet, and I was going to kill them both. If they detonated their bombs in our lines, they'd certainly kill me and my entire fire team, and more SEALs would die trying to evacuate our bodies. I kept screaming, my finger on the trigger and scope leveled at the first little girl's face, but they kept coming. My heart broke in half. Exhaling, I began pressing the trigger when the girl suddenly stopped. I'll never forget the look she gave me. Shock and horror. She knew I was going to kill her. I held the trigger and pleaded one more time. Run, get away. This time she got the message, and grabbing the other crying girl by the hand, she turned and they both ran back toward the Taliban lines. When I heard this event, when I listened to you on Joko's Willing podcast, and when I got back to it on the book, it's even hard to comprehend. You describe it very genuinely, and we get a little bit of the sense of what happened. But of course, when you have not lived such situation, it's impossible to truly understand what's going on. And how do you move on after such an episode? And I know the answer a little bit because I understood that was the turning point in your life. And once again, the choices you made afterwards, could you say that it's because of this event that in a way you decided at one point that your life would be dedicated to help civilian people?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. That event, being in a position, I made the decision in my head to kill the girls, but I waited one last second, pleading with them, asking them, begging them to turn around and run away, and they did. And so it was difficult because I'd already in my heart and in my head had already killed them. I just didn't do it physically, thank God. And I'm very grateful that I didn't have to, and I hope that they're alive and well somewhere. But seeing the civilians, seeing these little girls caught in the middle of this battle, and most likely carrying some sort of suicide bomb in their backpacks, I realized that there's these civilians who are just caught in the middle all around the world, and nobody's there to help them. Typically, the armies are there to fight each other, and the civilians are totally forgotten in the middle. And even the American military, we do our best to help, but I wasn't able to help those girls in any real way. And so because of that, yes, that set my heart, and in my mind, I realized that I needed to eventually one day that I would, leave the military, and that I would dedicate my life and find a way to help civilians who were caught in those conflict zones. And the thing about experiencing it, and then eventually you have to eventually move on. And I think that the anger and the sadness of that experience, in the moment, in the middle of the battle, you just immediately, you don't think about it anymore, and you continue to move on because you have a job to do. And I think that mental flexibility comes from the training that we had as SEALs. So when you're going through SEAL training and you're failing and all these bad things are happening constantly, but you pick yourself up and you keep going, and you pick yourself up and you keep going. This was an example of a situation where things went wrong. There's little girls are being sent straight at our unit for us to kill them. The Taliban sent these girls right at us. And so that's wrong. Like, the situation's wrong. And I made this, I made the right call, but I'm in this terrible situation. Well, just like in SEAL training, I'm just going to pick myself up and I'm going to move on. I'll deal with it later, and I'll think about it later. And I did. But in the moment, you just move on, and you move on to the next problem, and you keep going, because your team's relying on you to survive.